what may be seen as just a game holds much more under the surface. Countless stories reveal aspects of human nature that may forever remain untold. And here on Philosophy, we will tell those stories. I am David Leibowitz, and this is Philosophy, video game philosophy. Time to get the spiel for your enlightenment. Game start.
Blind. Reaper, we understand. It's hard to look at a brief character profile and understand what will happen to the world if that person lives or dies. It's not like you had a genie lamp to tell you how to do that. It was your own moral judgment. It's too bad that you didn't know that you could disobey fate as much as you wanted, as long as you didn't kill everyone. Or let everyone live. Rebellious. Okay, this time you tried your hardest to rebel, but you ended up being more of a tool than the last time. And you got fired in the end for not being enough of a tool. Nice, Reaper. Nice. Angel of Death. So this time, you pretended to be the Jewish Angel of Death, also known as Satan. You tried your hardest to exercise no free will, yet you saved the world. Which is weird, because you clearly didn't intend for that to happen. But that means you were listening to us all along. Listened to us, we guess. Oh, holy lamp, you are the true god. Utilitarian? So this time, you went utilitarian. And that means kill all the bad people, let the good people live, and then make the tough decisions in the gray areas. You did it, Reaper. You listened to us. Again. Exact same results as last time. An absolute utilitarian utopia. Go utilitarianism. Million. So, you used the ideas of the same guy as last time, but based it off his book On Liberty, where he basically is defending unlimited free speech, and used the justify balancing the world, as in a balance of ideas. Because the guy who stays in a cave and sins 4 times a day must live. All must hear the disciples of sin. Sometimes we don't even understand you, Reaper. Hobbesian. So you did it. This time you had to make it that you really followed every single stupid order from fate. He told you his plan halfway through your life, and you didn't stop, enjoying every single murder. But you clearly didn't listen to Thomas Hobbes in the fact that what he wanted was to not end the world. Either way, congratulations, you're fate's pet, you filthy Hobbesian. Capitalist. Okay, so you tried to be a capitalist, but you really just made sure that prosperity was its highest. Reaper. Why does every time you live, you justify with a different philosophy? That's weird. You're weird, Reaper. You're weird. Well, you clearly went against this notion when you let at least half of these CEOs die. Well, Reaper, at least you saved the world. Kantian. Okay, you know you are not supposed to let everyone live. We know you want immortality for everyone. But you have to do that after fate leaves. You little Kantian. Well, it seems your time is up. 3, 2, 1. Bye. See you in the next life where you don't mess it up. Psychopath. So, you just had to be a psycho this time. But you really weren't a psycho, because sometimes you let more people live than die. You just wanted high chaos. Shame on you. You wanted the world to burn. You are a psycho. So, those were your 9 lives. And Lady Pawdington lived through every one of them.
Meow. I have been watching you, Reaper. I know everything. Meow. all of your secrets, meow. I transcend time itself. Brrr. You've been bad, Reaper. Meow. Oh, look! Gerbil! Meow, 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 meow. Meow. Meow.
Decision coin. And for your 10th life. Seriously, Reaper. You're going to determine life and death with the flip of a coin. You know exactly how that's going to turn out. We'll be seeing you, Reaper.
3, 2, 1. Okay. So, this is Philosophispiel, and we have a very special episode. We have on ourselves our guest, Märten, and who was the lead writer of Death and Taxes, one of the best video games ever, and also was one of 8 writers of Disco Elysium. So,
yeah, 8 or more, I can't even remember. And also hello, but also I can't even remember how many writers there were at one point in total over time. So I'm guessing 8 is fine.
Yes.
But yeah. Thanks for having me here. It is a weird experience, probably, but let's do this.
Let's do this. So, Death and Taxes is a game that is one of those philosophical games. It is in the line with Papers, Please, This War of Mine, and a few others. But Death and Taxes obviously takes inspiration from Papers, Please, and goes further with it. And to me, when I started playing Papers, Please, which I never finished because it just seemed different, it seemed just to me like Death and Taxes puts you right there with moral dilemmas. So tell me, Märten, what exactly was your role in crafting the lore around a person making these moral dilemmas?
Well, as a lead writer, I guess the most important thing is like I was not the lead designer and the creative lead of the whole project, and this was a project by Leena Künnap. This was actually her thesis in the art college of Tartu. So she had this idea of having a death positive game about being death. And so a lot of these ideas, these philosophical central points of the game already were like things she was working on like before I joined. So I was just basically hired, or I presented myself as a volunteer at one point that hey, I can help out because everyone has so many things to do in a game, and I tried to take the ideas and these tenets that she had and like try to somehow write the characters out and have these ideas in the game. Keep it light-hearted, have some deep insight in it about death. I guess the most I would say, I guess, some pretty generic one from my point of view, but it's it's these central ones that maybe everyone can rather easily understand, I guess. And my job was mainly I wrote the boss of the main character, Mr. Fate. Had to write all of those dialogues, and had to spend a lot of time thinking what would be an interesting thing to write about, because game writing is interesting in the sense that the player needs to be engaged in many different ways. In essence, ideally, it should feel like a gameplay part as well. Like going through dialogues shouldn't be like a tedious thing, sure, but should somehow engage it more, not only in thought but also as a gameplay thing, right? It can't be too short. You need to think about voiceovers and all of these things. Can't be too long, can't be too short. Depends. You need to like rhythm it up, and then just have some engaging ideas somewhere as well. Not everywhere, because again it might get overwhelming. So try to spread it out. Some days are really short, some days are have lengthier discussions, It's a most interesting thing I would, I guess, say to game writers. It is a weirdly functional type of writing. It's like you can't oftentimes just start writing a game and be like, oh yes, I'm going to start writing some amazingly deep stuff from the get-go. You're more like, no, I need to give very relevant information to the player. Then gameplay relevant information, and then do this type of like functional structure design, and then afterwards somewhere it's like, okay, maybe I can add a couple of like tonal things here and there, and some ideas and some philosophy and something about mortality. in a sense, like I kind of used to approaching it from this angle, that the important gameplay information first and the fluff, so to speak, second. That doesn't mean you avoid fluff, but can't really go too heavy on it in the beginning. Also, it takes a lot of time to come up with of interesting stuff to for the player to read anyway.
Well,
I guess.
Well, I have to say, I mean, compared to mashing through Pokemon dialogue, again, just adding the voice, adding the voice actors, like Bonnie Bogovich, who did the voice for a skit again.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, the conscience in the mirror.
We'll get to that later. We gotta start with something else.
Yes.
But yes,
that's true.
Fate, of course. I forget both of the. Yeah, let's.
Douglas Pennant was his name, I think. Douglas Pennant,
and then who was Mortimer?
Yes. Oh, now I forgot his name. That's very embarrassing.
Either way, all three of them, wonderful job, and I think the voice in any game, voice acting, especially if it's good, elevates everything, and all three of them put on great performances. But let's just see if there's anything, because we haven't gone into spoilers yet, and the game only takes really 2 hours, but it only...
Yes, one playthrough, yeah, more or less.
I've done 10 of them, so...
All right.
I've done...
Yes, obviously.
I've done, well, really, yes, 10 playthroughs, but...
Nice.
Yes, and we have started with what was I saying? But as yes.
I do have to say, Douglas Pennant did a lot to bring the dialogue into fruition, I guess. I mean, the voice acting just elevates a lot of it into a whole new level. So
thank you for.
So it's not all my doing, obviously. It's a lot of it is just Douglas being amazing.
Yes, Douglas is amazing, and I'm glad to know Bonnie. And honestly, the reason why I probably cared about her dialogue, because honestly, I think a lot of people just mash through Bonnie's dialogue. I don't know though.
Oh, it depends. Looking at streams, it's been an interesting experience. People approach it in a different manner. And they approach all of the dialogues in a different manner, which is fun and interesting. You can't make a game that is that everyone plays exactly the same.
No. Okay. Well, the question.
Or I guess you can, but it's boring.
The question that I was going to ask is there any insights that you have that is non-spoiler related? Just any insights you have that are non-spoiler related.
About like game writing. Game writing for this game.
About the philosophy of this game, or do we have to go right into spoilers?
Oh, it's probably can't think of anything. No, we should probably just go straight into it.
Well, we already
spoiled
spoiled the whole game in the skit. Literally spoiled the whole game in the skit. We did every playthrough I did in that skit. That is literally just.
Oh,
that's
cool.
why you should listen to it. It's not the best according to Lean, but it's something. And it was just a joy to have Bonnie reprise her role. And Bonnie loved it too.
Yes, that's good.
Bonnie loved it. She gave a Gollum sign for that and other. And I mean on Twitter, yeah. So now. Let's do it. Let's go into your most chief role, and that is being mind blown by Fate. Okay, let's go into But first, Märten, if anyone still by this point has not played Death and Taxes, briefly summarize the game since it only takes 2 hours. Just briefly summarize it.
Okay, you are the Grim Reaper. You work in an office where you get to pick the people who you get to pick people as profiles, as paperwork that appear on your table, and you need to choose who lives and who dies. I guess technically, you are not the one who chooses per se. The people themselves are already, living their lives and living and dying, and just, they happen to be in danger situations. So you need to pick between those moments, and you do that. You have a boss. You talk to the boss, gives you some little tasks that you need to complete, and you try to do your best to save the world. That's it.
No, spoil it. Spoil all 4 endings right now. Spoil the 4 endings so we can get right into it after.
Oh my God, what were the endings?
You don't remember? Do you want me to just say it? Do you want me to just say it? Or no?
Oh, just go for it.
Okay, I'll just say it. Okay, 4 endings. Ending number 1, you kill Fate because there's a guy that is giving you red slips and you follow the train of red slips of disobediences. It likely will end in you ending the world, but you get to kill Fate on the last day. Ending 2, you don't hear about Fate's master plan. Fate's master plan is to end humanity because he's bored, and you get fired.
Yes.
He's bored. You can get more into that, of course. Why Fate did exactly what he did, of course. Ending number 3 is you save the world either through balance or through a complete utopia, and you save the world. Yes, you save the world. And ending 4 is you do pretty much you have the max amount of loyalty to Fate, and you get to fade away in his office with Fate still alive because you are what is called Fate's pet. Now that we've established what happens, let's get into.
I guess
Anything else you have to say?
It's interesting. No, it's just like it's interesting how I'm used to thinking about the structure in the program that I wrote, and then for me, the endings always in my mind are kind of structured differently. I always thought there were 3 endings. Not thought that. I mean, it feels in my mind that there are 3 endings because I wrote 3 dialogues for it, 3 branches of a dialogue. But of course, in truth, there are more endings because there are ways that you play the game and how it ends up, and you have little choice that you.
There's
you can
also
make.
one more ending.
I guess
there is one more ending.
I guess technically you can get fired if you're really bad at your job.
That.
If you're really disloyal and
that was the Kantian playthrough for me. Familiar with Kantianism?
And a little bit.
Would you say that
I remember my old university philosophy courses, but not everything.
You can't use anyone as a means, and therefore, because you can't use anyone as a means, I let everyone live every day, and that's why I got fired.
Yes, that's another way. Yeah. Yes, you can let everyone live, let everyone die for too many times. You get fired for that, and there is a very slight possibility of getting fired mid-game as well if you are extremely disloyal. So, and there are a couple of Easter egg, just kind of game overs as well. But I guess they're half endings, pseudo endings, because they're not.
Wait. There's an ending besides him just saying you are terminated. Your existence is terminated.
No, not really. But you can just achieve it at different points. It's just basically the same thing, like getting fired or just getting booted out. But you can achieve it in a couple of ways, and it doesn't count as a separate ending, or it doesn't. It's just kind of, game ends, and you just continue from where you left off.
But you getting fired, so that you actually getting fired, by just doing what I did, shows that your existence is connected to this job. That establishes that secret that you cannot you cannot have when you ask for a vacation, you can't because this is your existence. Anything you have to elaborate on that?
It is more of a joke, actually. weird enough. It feels more existential, and it feels, but it's not that deliberate. It more came as a joke of like, well, if you are very disloyal and you get fired, it's like, what else am I gonna do with you? You were technically just created from nothing or from lemons and whatever to be a death. So what else are you gonna do? It's just, you know, you're gonna cease from existing as well because fate is mad at you. That's true. It feels much more grimmer in that sense as well. But originally, I wrote it kind of just as a joke. It's like, well, what else am I gonna do with you?
It felt very threatening, though. The way Douglas
Yes.
or Tuckless delivered it was very threatening. So,
Yes.
now
that's
let's
true,
go
yeah.
on to one of the best things in the game. That is Fate's rant. Do you know exactly what I'm for? Where you have to click either the dialogue and you can like choose at any point to stop listening to him.
Yes. Oh yes, that was a really fun.
Right.
thing to
Tell me
write.
about it right now. What is the basic? Just blow my mind again.
The one where I'm gonna just start from a
Summarize
little
it
bit
briefly.
earlier
But
because
we should...
oh my god, it's been so long. I can't summarize that briefly. Basically, no. Fate is just trying to convince you in a sense, like not directly, but just try to tell you about his deep misgivings about humanity and are they and their importance in the grand scheme of the universe. I guess that is indeed. It happens a little bit before you get a reveal in most games. So it's just trying to. The idea was that Fate can kind of try to convince you a little bit before you get the reveal, the plan that he actually has. That was why it's written in way. That's why the game has like 3 larger dialogue moments when Fate kind of tries to talk to you about humanity. That's where and that's the longest one, the biggest one there, like the main one about what it's all about.
But tell me now, what was your philosophical inspiration? What was your inspiration for that? Obviously, he's just saying the biggest one is the tree. Your existence is a tree. And that's a famous metaphor. So that's
Yes.
a famous.
It kind of came from that. It has a weird background because the name of the game obviously is from a quote as well. So the one thing certain in life, are death and taxes, like the 2 things, I guess. And then at one point when I was just collecting ideas, I was like, can I make a joke about the other famous saying, which is does a tree, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? So and I thought if you just got a situation where you gotta answer a famous quote with more or less the correct answer, you don't have to, but you can choose from an option, and so yes, and so I thought I'll just use the other famous thing as well and give you options to choose that, or basically not give you options, make you choose the one you chose in the previous one. I don't know the answer to this one. Maybe it's also death and taxes because the previous one was death and taxes. It kind of started from that. It's the funny thing is again, it's this thing was just to make this to create a silly choice for the player. And then before that, I had gathered in a notebook, a notepad, and wherever I write, ideas down, I had just gathered this general commentary on the existential, the nature of humanity and the importance of humanity, because traditionally in philosophy as well, philosophy has really given a supremely high status to humans. And me, I'm more of a Bruno Latour fan. If you're familiar, I'm more in this actor network theory, a-modernist stuff. And that kind of reprioritizes things to be more about. You need to figure out these networks that also include non-human animals and even basically from technologies to even like inanimate objects, everything that is in a network that kind of has an effect in it, and it is a super interesting thing to think about and to read about, and I really recommend Bruno Latour to a lot of people.
Okay.
So that's kind of, but there is less of that in the chat. It was more about just kind of knocking humanity down a peg. That's what I was just kind of almost in a fugue state writing this dialogue of like, I'm gonna tell humanity that it's not important at all. Ha ha ha. That'll show them. That'll show people.
Yes, that's wonderful. And I have to say that I think in talking to Lean and other people and other that you wanted to make this as distant from nature, distant from religion as possible. And obviously the Grim Reaper comes from the Angel of Death, and I did a playthrough as the Angel of Death, and accidentally got the Utopia ending when that was the ending that should have been Fate's Pet. But I had the lamp. So I used the lamp to make sure that I got the best things, so I got Utopia. So then I did the Hobbesian ending, but went against Hobbes in making sure there's chaos. So that's what I. So I finally got Fate's Pet, and of course in that he tells you his goals halfway through the game. That's the one, and yes. And you can listen or you cannot listen. I listen, of course, because I love killing people. That's one of the options. Like, I love murder. So that is. But what was I saying? I was talking. But in regards to religion versus not religion, you have honestly the most. I was talking to. As Jewish. I personally am an atheist, but. I go and I teach with I get taught by the rabbi and by my rabbi, and he has had a course about the gifts that the Jews gave the world, and he talks about monotheism, and the biggest thing is that about monotheism is that God cares about you, and he said what the religions before that is that the God doesn't care about you, they're just fighting. Here is interesting. Obviously you probably didn't think about this, but let's see what you have to say about it in regards to you have all you really have is death. You don't have. So far, there is no life god. There are no angels. There are only. You said that fate is pretty much the angel of death, and also fate is a concept, of course. The fates. You could probably go down to why you called him or why he was called Fate. Probably related to the fates, but in regards to this more singular entity that just does not care about people. Do you have anything to say about that? And in regards to like God very much caring about you versus this whole thing that just doesn't care about people at all.
Yeah, that kind of really didn't factor into this game that much. Yeah, in general, we were just trying to keep it vague in the religious sense because we do have actually references to like Egyptian, the Ankhs and all that. So more distant from direct Christianity, but just kind of have some iconography or something visually that represents things. And there is like one of those characters that walks around in the office, kind of looks like an angel, like a bright haloed character almost. Especially the one who is in the very cellar doing whatever, because we kind of just created little chippy characters. To walk around with like vague different hints to, but they don't have any background to them. I just want to say that. So that kind of gives us the option to maybe one day we can do something with them, maybe not. But anyway, that was kind of as an aside. The name Fate was Lene's as well, because when Lene started pre-production with the game, or very very early production years ago. She just wanted someone who is a boss who could be higher than the Grim Reaper, basically, right? If you are death, and who could be like a more powerful entity to be a boss? That kind of feels accurate. That like a fate type character might be it. It used to be called Mr. Destiny, but it just doesn't roll off the tongue as well. I have to admit, Mr. Fate is a cooler
But what
name.
about?
And I guess the Fate in a sense is he's not like essentially uncaring, because if he were, he wouldn't actually even have these. I guess we can think, referring back to these lengthy discussions about the merits of humanity. If he didn't care at all, then there would be no point to have discussions and try to influence you, the Grim Reaper, or you, the player, to like think about this issue. He could just be like, I'm Fate, I don't care, so I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I don't need to explain myself. So in a sense, and he's not like uncaring. In essence, he just kind of has over time done as a it's more like an bureaucracy and office job joke. Is like, if you just work in an office for so long, you're just gonna get so tired and annoyed by it. And even if you are running an office about life and death, just the office job just grinds you down in the end. Even if you are an supreme being like Fate, he's just done it too long, and that's why he's kind of lost interest in humanity and all that. It's a sad story in a sense.
Okay. And what else is there? Obviously, I want to get into the more moral aspects. This episode is supposed to be called The Morality of Death and Taxes, so we'll see what you can answer about that. But if you can't, then I'm just gonna throw out some things, and you can just sit here and say nothing, because you might not know. But
no, I'm gonna faff about for like several minutes without actually saying anything relevant. That's the trick.
Yes. But of course, and the game is not supposed to push any message. But now, no, I do want to talk about the conscience. What do you think? What should go first? Should we talk about more about anything you can say about the gameplay itself, or should we get right to the conscience now?
No, we can go on.
What do you think? What are you feeling right now?
I'm guessing we can go for the conscience. Describing gameplay stuff is like, I mean, people need to just kind of get into it themselves and see their own, like, experience it. That's the important bit.
But obviously we're spoiling it right now, so.
Yes, a little bit.
We gave away all 4 endings, and
well, that's fine. It's the process and the journey that counts, and not only.
But
the
of course, I mean, the big thing is discovering that Fate. That, you know what? That's what we need to talk about. Fate's whole Fate saying about. So what is the deal with that? So Fate is like, you can't kill everyone, you can't let everyone live, but he wants everyone to. Obviously, having everyone live makes sense, but why is he against killing everyone? Do you have any answer to that?
Yeah. I only have the most basic. It's a gameplay feature thing again. This is one of these. You need to efficiently somehow kind of force the player into playing the game, and not to, you know, not, there needs to be boundaries about some of the extreme things that you can do, because you know, if as a game designer, especially as an indie game designer, you often don't have that much time and money to create all the little branching paths that might happen if you allow, you know, more freedom to the player. So that was one of these things, like, we really don't have the resources to do anything proper with these bits, so we're gonna limit the players' availability. So it's basically just a very basic gameplay choice,
kind of
even though it creates like a slightly weird situation where it kind of doesn't seem to work, but that's basically just to, and it kind of stops at one point when Fate during the 3rd and 4th week kind of stops caring about what you're doing, more or less. Then actually there are several days where it doesn't even check the if you killed everyone or no one anymore. So it kind of stops doing that at one point anyway.
But there's one day he will give you money no matter what, but then I think the other days, if you break the rules, maybe he doesn't fire you, but he doesn't give you money.
There is actually, even the first time when you get money in the end of the first week, if you play it bad enough, you can actually not get money there. But that's just very difficult to get the raise. And in the meat game, he gives you money based on your loyalty.
No, I'm talking about like the first time he's on the vacation. You know what I'm talking about? He's on the phone.
Yeah,
he's on the phone. No, the second time he's on the vacation. The second vacation.
Okay. Yeah,
that's. Like, I don't really.
The first time he's on the vacation is on the second week, and the second time he goes on vacation is the end of week 3. Yes. It's a 2
He's
day
writing
one,
the book, right? That's what he's doing.
Yes. Yeah, researching for the book.
Or just flying. We don't know. Or he's just flying.
Yeah. Or just being on a holiday in a beach somewhere, drinking fancy drinks and sitting in the sun.
And so the big thing is that he does reveal to you one time. I don't think he has to reveal this to you, but he does sometimes say, if you that time is going much quicker in this world than it is in others. What was the deal with this?
Yes, not quicker, but it is not like linear in a sense. Again, it was kind of to give the impression that even though the game has 28 days from the beginning to end, there is a surprising amount of things that happen in your small region, and a lot of people, and it doesn't really mean that 28 days are going by in the real world. In the real world, it kind of it is. Yeah, I try to give this weird impression that it's like time is just messed up if you work here. Sometimes it takes a lot of time passes, or not at all, or it might not even go linearly. It might be like the days are out of order sometimes, and it's like, why not? So it's more like a why not?
Yes, and so now let's get to it. As I've been trying to say, but not trying to, but yes. So the whole deal of withhold, I think two things working concurrently. The fact that you can't go completely let everyone live or let everyone die, but you can very much break. I think it's honestly Linné's intention that you break the rules that you break the rules, but you just can't break them to an extreme.
Yes.
But so what is the deal with Fate talking about equilibrium and then saying he wants to end the world? What obviously we talked briefly about why he wants to end the world, because he's just bored and he's gotten tired of it and he is caring, but let's set you into place exactly, and also how much control you had after, like, did Linné say this is when he reveals it to you, or did you have some freedom in that?
No, I had mostly we kind of me and Lena and Oit, we were discussing these things and just kind of making these little calendars. I was creating like a calendar on my own, like in Excel of all things, to see like where could I stick bits of information so it would have a nice rhythm for the player. The equilibrium is kind of like it's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to keep the equilibrium, and when you start off for weeks on end, Fate really doesn't either care or even trust you. So basically he talks to you as if you are a regular worker, and gives the illusion that he's just doing what he's supposed to do. So he's kind of lying to you. In the background, he's giving you crappy tasks every day. The stuff you're supposed to do mostly makes the world better. So he keeps talking about, oh yes, this is all for the equilibrium, but everything you get tasked to do, most everything just makes the world worse. So he's kind of being deceitful, and then providing you with bad jobs. So you kind of mess it up. And if you're very loyal to him, then he's like, oh, okay, you seem like a very cool guy. You seem to want to kill all the people as well. Well, I'm gonna let you in on the plan. But otherwise, he does it in the end. Yeah. And the original idea was to only give you the reveal at the end. So it's when you play through it for the first time, you get the reveal. You're not supposed to have a successful ending in the first playthrough. because it's to like have a little like replayability moment. The game in a sense is supposed to be like a 4 or 5 hour game. The full experience, to get like the first bad ending, and then you get the reveal, and then you succeed hopefully in the second or maybe the third try. So it's the game is built to be replayed at least once. Or at least twice. Or 10 times.
Well,
yes.
It was really 9 times. One of those was me getting fired after the 4th day, so.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
But yeah, and that was Lena's gameplay loop idea, basically. It is built to be... it is built as a game that you're supposed to replay at least once or
And
twice.
we can maybe go towards the end about more just little things like the things that you say. But I do want to get now to... Let's get to the conscience. You obviously didn't write... You told me you didn't write the conscience, but...
Yes, not a lot of it. Yeah, I edited most of it because I was busy doing Fate stuff, and then I was busy writing profiles, and I had some other writers who were like, all right, well, aside from profiles, maybe you want to write some conscience stuff as well. So I let Markus, who wrote a lot of the conscious things as well. I was like, well, just go right ahead. Write something.
You know what? I think can we take a quick break so I can use the restroom? And let me yes. Okay, so let me yes. Let me stop. Let's go. So now let's get on to Bonnie's role, the conscience. But very much more the contrast between the conscience and fate. Mortimer is obviously just there for comic relief, and he hidens.
Also, I did want to say, I did find the name of the voice actor. It's obviously Isaac Wells. It's very embarrassing that I forgot. Mortimer was voiced by Isaac Wells. Yes.
Isaac Wells. Yes, great. Wonderful guy. Wonderful voice acting. But let's get to what do you have to say exactly about the conscience?
Conscience was more supposed to be kind of like the nagging voice inside your head, or all of our heads, or at least most of the people's heads, I assume. The one thing that kind of either doubts you or tries to boost you, or depending on I guess what type of a conscience do you are. It came out kind of a bigger jerk than was maybe planned, but the end result was this is the cut down version of what I had planned, actually, because I wanted to do something more exciting with conscience initially, but that was very time and resource heavy as well, and so we had to cut it down to like this version, because the original idea I had was for the conscience to be more like the master from Fallout 1. Me as an old person, I remember playing Fallout back in the day, and what a great game it is, the original. And the master just had several voices that kept talking to you, like 3 or 4 voices, with like so different separate voice actors. And it had like these, all the 3 voices were different aspects of I wanted to do like conscience, that the conscience has different aspects and thus has different voice actors, and you just write lines where you need to record them like with several people, so it would be like a weird little mix of the sentences come in like come in many voices, but that is expensive and time consuming, and it needs very good writing to pull off, and we just didn't have time for that. But yeah, I would have wanted to do something like that, one voice which is the one that always doubts you and thinks and is paranoid and thinks that everyone is out to get you, and the one voice which is very empathetic and tries to help you and everyone and cares about everything, and then maybe and also it's like a rational voice, like the empathetic rational voice was supposed to go together. There was this more insane, more paranoid version, and then what was the third one supposed to be? Oh yeah, the angsty one, yeah. Yes, there was an angry, paranoid one and an angsty, like sad one who always doubts everything, I think.
But
yeah. Yeah, we just kind of cut it down, the dialogues to the size, and the aspects are still there. The dialogues are kind of written through this lens. It just has one voice actor that kind of just does a great job with the text that we had. These are like simpler, basic versions, but that's why the dialogues are kind of inconsistent over days. If you go to the mirror and talk to conscience a lot, like one day it's like this, one day it's like that. You know, one day the conscience is very paranoid about things, and the other day it's like, oh no, it's fine, you're the king of the castle, and very arrogant and all that. So I just thought, like, why hell, just let's keep the idea. Let's write a little bit using this three-prong like personality aspect, but just Bonnie is just gonna voice all of it, and it's gonna be great. Yes.
Bonnie is great, and she is she just needs to go farther places, but she seems happy where she needs to go so far. But she's a great singer, yeah, whatever. But yeah, just voice, like, people, I think people like they find her
the voice
annoying,
is great, but the dialogue is
that voice needs to put me to sleep. One person said.
That's yeah. But yeah, it is supposed to, be.
I put up with it because it was Bonnie. I'm like, I want to hear it because I want to hear Bonnie.
Again, we couldn't write too many conscience dialogue, so it would just be an endless amount if you need to go there every day. That's a little bit much. So we just cut it down to a couple of days, some amount of days, and some amount of little triggers that make the conscience dialogue appear, and just have the conscience comment on something that's going on. Also, the conscience does actually work as an early warning system, basically, or sometimes not as a warning system, as a oops, you already kind of sorry for cursing, but that's like, oh, the conscience kind of messed up, or it's trying to give you information, but it's just kind of like, oh, well, you guess you're wrong already, too bad.
But for this one, so, conscience said, conscience, to me, the way I interpret conscience, it's just interesting. Because, what theory of conscience did you base it off? Because still, it seems like conscience wants, even though it's mean, they're mean, they want the best.
Yes.
Like, when you finally save the world, it clearly is like, when you realize that it is your conscience, I guess. I assume that.
Yes.
I assumed that immediately, but I guess other people didn't. Some people didn't even know it was conscience because you never say it, because it's only billed as conscience. But, there is the fact that the point at the end when you get to give conscience a hug. Okay, a high five. It would be nice if you got to give it a hug, but you just give it a high five. It's funny that they say you need to get out more.
Yeah,
but
and it is supposed to be. The thing about the inner voice that people have is like,
the best.
In essence, it's oftentimes, the conscience tries to help you. Maybe it's bad at it, and if you have issues with depression and self-esteem, then it can be very detrimental. But the inner voice can really mess with you a lot, right? So, and that's why the 3 voice version is as well, and the one that's really about high-fiving and all that. It's this is the empathetic, the rational side, which is like, yeah, good job, and.
Wait, so you're saying? Are you saying? Are you gonna give the? Are you giving an admission right now that this game has to deal with
Lena made that depression-based jam game, which is also on our website. So it wasn't directly meant, but the idea of the one of the voices of conscience has this little depressive streak. The one that doubts you a lot. The self-doubt is often it kind of connects to this whole thing of depression and self-esteem and other issues so
Yes, but what theory of so then what would you say? Is there a theory of the fact is that you are if we were, so I can't just simply interpret it as you are going against your conscience. You went against the conscience. That when Bonnie says that I'm playing an evil conscience,
when I was writing it,
correct.
I didn't really have any of this any like more thought behind it, because actually again when I was writing I was mostly thinking as the master from Fallout. That's basically it. So everything that came out is kind of like through that lens, so I wasn't really thinking more about it. And then of course like half of the dialogues are written by Markus, although I did give the description of this is basically idea, and then just Markus wrote a bunch of stuff based on what was necessary for whatever day.
And then yes, and then there's but is you still think that that conscience
not just good, no,
represents the good in people, or
no.
Is that too far?
I think mostly it's just that it's mostly you just talking to yourself. That's basically it. Yeah, that's the type of conscience it really is, and that's why I try to give. Even though conscience is a mean character sometimes, the way that the player can like kind of. There could be like more cleverer options about it, but the player can also just kind of choose what type of a discussion you have with yourself, kind of. Because the things that conscience sometimes replies to some of your options are kind of always, not always, but oftentimes they like kind of confirm to the option that you picked. So like, okay, sure, I as a writer give you like 3 options to choose from in the dialogue, and then the reply that conscience gives is like basically affirming this choice. So in a sense, like you are talking to yourself, and conscience oftentimes just says what you were saying, or sometimes depending on which is the very dominant voice is like the opposite of what you were saying. So we're gonna kind of played with that a little bit. I would have wished that I could have played with it more. If I had the time, would have done more of this fun stuff with like the conscience that kind of agrees with you more, or the conscience that disagrees with you more, or like kind of mix it up. That would be like super interesting, and that would be like super fun to voice as well. I assume, I imagine.
But I think is though the fact that conscience never seems to be saying to you, yes, you should listen to Fate. Yes. Never. I don't think she says that once.
Yes. So because you are. It is more like you as the Grim Reaper might suspect that something is wrong, and then conscience is the little yourself in the mirror that kind of tries to hint that maybe you are right, maybe something is wrong, maybe I shouldn't trust whatever is going on. That's basically it, yeah. No. No.
So is conscience at all based on the Freudian superego or no? Okay. Got it. And then briefly just, I talked to Bonnie about this because we just talked over about her first line that's on YouTube, so no spoilers. Ain't sex Neilio, something from nothing.
See, exactly. And
These
are the 3 names that I came up with for the 3 aspects of conscience when I wrote as, when I was trying to do the master. Angst ex nihilo is the self-doubty one. The exalted chimera is the one that is very arrogant and paranoid in the same time. And then Elan Vital is like, the empathetic, like, rational side. These are just the names for it. I was like, I need cool names for these things, so they wouldn't sound like empathy and self-doubt. No, these are boring names. I need to come up with silly names, silly cool names for them. So we came up with that. Yes.
And then the fact is that that's why conscience comes up in the mirror, because you are talking to yourself. Okay, now let's get on to me now spouting about the the branching paths that you can go on, and this is where you're probably going to be the least. But we're just gonna talk. We're just gonna talk this through. We're just gonna talk this through and see what we get. So what I found, at least in my playthroughs, is that you have the lamp, and the lamp determines that there are 4. There's one hidden. There's another value, but there's 4 values: peace, prosperity, health, and ecology. And those values dictate how that affects the world. And what I found was, obviously, doing the first one was Angel of Death, and getting the right values got me the Utopia. And then I did Utilitarian, and so using the people as killing the bad people, exactly as the skit says, kill the bad people, let the good people live, and make the decisions in the gray areas. That is the utilitarian path. And you don't have to say anything, but it just seems like what the game is pushing, and in regards to getting that utopia and overthrowing fate, is in at least some way a sense of utilitarian thinking. Do you have any?
I guess essentially, because the gameplay loop is as it is, it kind of almost automatically leans toward that. Yeah, because you know that's less about the like any specific choice, but more about this is what a gameplay of this type kind of automatically does. Because like game needs to kind of give you choices, and it kind of like makes life, in a sense, like in a very large sense, it, really pushes it down to like very, very small choices, for the gameplay. Because the only thing because if you can only like pick between a couple of options, then it almost kind of grows out from this kind of a gameplay element that, like, it kind of starts working as I think that might just be like accidentally a side effect of what the gameplay loop is, because it kind of isn't. It even isn't that deliberate on the profile sides, because the profiles, they have these parameters, and they have numbers attached, how much they influence the world, and these are basically random. Just kind of like, oh, this is some character, you write the biography, and you just put some numbers that feel accurate, and they never like kind of really balanced it or like kind of thought through. It's just like we kind of need every parameter to be more or less equal, so you have a more or less equal chance of getting any bad ending. So we need to keep them kind of balanced in that sense, but like there wasn't any any very proper design going into the profile writing. It's like, we just need these types of profiles that do this type of an effect. But yeah, and I was actually just, because we needed a lot of profiles as well. There are like so many hundreds and 600 or whatever, and just like you keep writing profiles, you need to write a lot of profiles really fast, and at one point you're like, oh my god, I'm running out of ideas. I'm just gonna put random ideas and random numbers into this character, just just as long as we get some of these guys out.
Yes.
Just put some references in it. Yeah, put some cool cultural stuff, and just like, people. It's fun if people recognize what it's about, what this profile is about, and it makes it a little bit easier to write as well, because like, okay, I'm just gonna reference something weird.
Yes. But what was I saying? But in regards to anything I'm thinking about what I was gonna say about any of the profiles.
Oh yeah, that really came out like fun.
Like, especially the Disciples
I
of
think
Sin.
it was our one of our writers. I think Kadri was the one. I wrote a lot of the names. I just basically Googled names from all sorts of cultures, and I just combined a lot of names and just made a hundreds, like 500 empty profiles when I was starting off. Just, you know, they only had a name and an age and an occupation. And then the other writers, not me as well, but the other writers are like, okay, we need to fill these characters out. Because I had, like, you know, picked names from all other places and names that sounded good, and just there was this character whose name just accidentally was Anson Sin. And then Kadri was like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this profile because the name already, you know, the name is a great name. I'm just gonna write this character as a sinner." It's like, okay, and Kadri did a great job. And then I read that character. It's like, God damn, this. Sorry, I keep cursing. Oh, blimey. Okay. But I was like, oh, this is such a fun character. Maybe there should be characters that are related to this. So I just kind of added a couple of new ones. Like, okay, if Anson Sin lives, you get this character. If he dies, you get this other character. And they are all like disciples of the sinners. And it's like, oh, just keep adding sinners into the game. This is super fun. And a lot of characters kind of grew into small plot lines because of that. Because either the name was interesting, or whoever had written the profile was like, "Oh, this is such a fun and interesting profile. Let's do something with it. Let's do like a small little plot line. How this character affects other characters. Makes some other characters appear or not. It's like, oh, it's super fun to make these little branching plot lines that just kind of happen. It's the same thing with the boots, the green boots, and a couple of other things that, you know, and it creates this feeling that the players' choices actually do influence the world, because they do. Because some profiles make particular other profiles appear, or some profiles make particular days and tasks appear, and, you know, there is some branching in it. In the day as well.
Okay, got it. I think I have four realms of questions. Then 4 final realms of questions. I thought it was gonna be 3. I just realized there's a big one that we of course we have to get to, and that is the red slip. But I want to talk to some other things first. But yeah, we have to talk about the red slip, of course. The red slip is a big one. But first, in regards, since we're talking about names, I'm going to. I understand, Lena, does not want to push any political messages. I'm aware, and you're also Estonian, so you come from a different mindset than us Americans who are playing it, because there is an obvious
Yes. Ecological catastrophe in a sense. If you have one parameter in this universe, and then it's like kind of pushing these taking something fitting for every parameter. Yeah.
And so there's the climate change. So, but again, America is we're the weirdos here. We disagree about it. The rest of the world doesn't.
Not really.
The rest of the world doesn't. So
not as much.
I guess that for you, that's not as political.
That's like, I'm not 100% sure about the rest of all the other Estonians, but at least people who are usually younger are more, seem to agree with the overwhelming consensus. But of course I know people here as well who are like, nah, this is like whatever El Nino to any other, like the sun just being hotter than usually. But it's like, come on, that's just being deliberately obtuse in a sense. But yeah.
Yes. And remember, we're not going to try to push anything. We're not going to try to push anything. But I do have to analyze your game.
It doesn't.
So I have to analyze this. I'm going to analyze this game.
Like very strong push towards any side. But in a sense, again, some things do come through. Some choices do come through, and I am, generally a more left-leaning person. So it's not like deliberate, but still, if you're just writing random characters, and it's like, whatever, I'm just gonna do this. So.
Yeah, so in regards to this little this of what I've analyzed from reading the character profiles. I'm going to go into them. Let's go through some of them right now. And from what I remember, we of course have we have the defense contractor.
Yes.
America,
I mean,
corruption
kind
is a
of
big
makes sense.
issue.
Yeah.
So of course killing him helps.
So either and you know, if you either have a character that's a parameter that is very strong or a profile, and so you either pick the parameter to fit the profile or vice versa. That is what sometimes happens, because I also just randomly put some you know, you have an empty profile and I put a random parameter down. I know that I need, like, you know, people who make peace a lot worse, like, you know, 100 minus 100 points to peace. I just already put it down, but the rest of the profile was empty. So at one point, then you're looking at the profile data, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess you need to figure out some character that does peace bad. Okay, let's do a defense contractor or whatever. I can't remember. I think probably not. It's just like
wait. Is the defense contractor a chaos profile?
A heavy minus something. Probably not. I can't remember the names very well. I messed. Oh, this is my sad story. I messed one of the names up. Oh no, that makes me so sad. I messed one of the names up so bad because the name got voiced and the voice I sent the wrong file with the wrong name because I wanted to make one of the evil ones, the one that creates the zombie apocalypse, is Caleb Sadie Rondeau, and at one point I changed the profile name to LeChuck because I wanted to make a Monkey Island reference. So Caleb LeChuck is the, you know, the cause of the zombie apocalypse, and then I had sent the wrong script to Douglas, who says the names of the evil profiles, and then oh no, I had to roll back my wonderful Monkey Island reference. That made me so sad. Yes. Yeah, for the name at least.
Okay,
yeah, and then
so
kind of like
so
because
that,
we were thinking like, you know, zombie apocalypse is a very common like trope in fiction. So let's do one of the health ending, the bad health chaos profiles. Let's do like a zombie thing. Okay, well I need some trigger characters for that. Caleb LeChuck would be super funny, but then I messed it up. Yeah, then Kathleen. Yeah, I think Kathleen Holmes and another one. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the name actually
Kathleen
is just
Holmes.
a
Yes,
reference
I
to
remember.
Theranos.
So what was Kathleen Holmes? What was Kathleen Holmes?
The scam medical company Theranos, run by Elizabeth Holmes. I think I got the name from that. Sorry, no one sue me for, you know, referencing real people, but not really because the name Kathleen is different. So, but I chose the name from there, and I think Kathleen Holmes was just like a generic
was that
bad
health?
Economical like mismanagement of culture, and can't remember. No, or was it the no, it was the ecological one. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was the ecological one. Yeah, she's just like, you know, exploit everything.
Yeah, I
destroy
remember it was
the
the
world,
ecological
basically.
one. Yeah.
You know, type. Yeah, exactly. Then I remember, yeah. Then one of the military ones were just Moha Borg.
Okay,
and the other one,
now,
they were just like, you know, one of them was a Terminator reference. You know, just basically great Skynet and a lot of like cybernetic killing machines, drones, and whatever. Just blow everything up. More or less, yeah. And just like a regular arms dealer one, yeah. Or like just.
And then
someone who is very invested. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I did a trick where one of them was the researcher who created like military hardware, and the other one was like a politician who would have saved the world from like a conflict if they survived. But if you chose, you know, so the choice was like if you let one live. I tried to like mix up the chaos profiles so they wouldn't be all like, if you know, kill this person then bad thing happens, or if this person survived the bad thing happens. I tried to mix and match. So some of them are like even for the same thing, it's like if you let this person live then bad military. Yeah, exactly. Military one is the one. If you let one of them live, then you get the bad war ending, and if you kill the other one, yeah, then you get the bad ending as well. Yeah, exactly. So basically, mix and match.
Yeah, and of course you're just.
So the politician would have saved from the conflict, but because of that, everything went to hell, and weapons everywhere. And then of course the last pair, whose names I've kind of forgotten, the
of course
the Frolics Entertainment ones. It is kind of a Disney joke, so so I'm being mean to Disney in those profiles. Yeah. The large monoculture global entertainment industry that starts turning people into food paste and Soylent Green and whatever. So it's the destruction of cultural diversity and different kinds. It's all about just one huge mega Disney corporation. I mean Frolics Entertainment. That's kind of what the joke is.
Yeah. Okay. Good to. So that's philosophy. That's your message. Good to know.
Yeah.
Remember that Lene. Yeah, Disney. Please do not sue this. Please not sue.
And again, the Walt Guybrush was one of them. And Guybrush is obviously another reference to Monkey Island. So that's why just I wanted to use the cool name somewhere.
Okay. And then, but you are very much not endorsing killing people too.
I endorse nothing and everything. You're just being super vague about it. Yeah.
Yes, good.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I was surprised how writing being the first time I was a lead writer on a project and having to come up with stuff. It is obvious that some of your own either leanings spiritually or philosophically or politically kind of come into writing a little bit, but not you still have you still need to create the world and you still need to fill it with characters, and it's it is incorrect to assume that everything that you write, if you have a particular view of the world, that everything you write is kind of through that lens, because I can still write characters that are nothing like me, right? I can write people and ideas that are not in any way represent my views of the world, and that's what kind of makes characters more interesting, right? So so that's why it would be incorrect to read a very strong slant into anything, because that's basically how writing works. That's how fiction works.
Fiction, yeah. So we're gonna end on I'm not getting there yet, but we're gonna end with with just a little. I do want you to give an inspirational note to those writers out there. But first, we got two more things. But you're fine with me. You're comfortable keeping that out there. That you recorded. That you're saying about you elaborating on the profiles, or would you like me to take that out?
Fairly obvious, the joke, that the reference that we're making. They're not very obscure in a sense. They're not even trying to hide it a lot. And looking at Discord and our community, I mean, a lot of people really got the reference, so that's fine. Okay. Yeah.
I actually don't even remember seeing the Walt Disney stuff, but I remember being amused by a lot of the profiles. Instant Sin being my favorite.
He's very dedicated. You need to admire. You can admire a person like this. He's very dedicated. Very works hard at his stuff.
Yes. Now this is a big one. You can just say nothing about this. Just don't. If you don't have an answer for this, we can just move on. But would you this is obviously the game. I taught a philosophy professor. Okay, I'm saying it right now. Yep, I'm in college. Fine. A philosophy professor of mine. Talked about it, like, cause he was familiar with Papers, Please and this war of mine, and he said, even in this context, I feel like this context, the fact is, in real life, you wouldn't just be able to kill or let them live. There's other ways in which you can punish people for being bad. Do you have any response to that?
Yeah, I can't argue with the point, but I can also say, like, technically, you as the Grim Reaper are not punishing anyone for their deeds or misdeeds, because that is kind of not the point overall. You, as an office worker, you just have a profile, and you know it is the one thing certain in life, that everyone's gonna die eventually, and all you pick is like the people themselves. As has been noted many times, the people themselves are just in a dangerous situation, and the only thing you really choose is, like, you know, what happens. Will this person survive or not? And you know, you're not really even tasked to make like a judgment of that, and it's not like a punishment. And that's kind of might be an interesting and an important point about maybe this. I'm not all that familiar with like death positivity movement, but like, just, you know, people, death is a part of our existence, and just, you know, you have to deal with it eventually, either your own or you know, your friends and family. And it's like, you know, it maybe it is like a mistake, or like the problem is to like consider death like a punishment for anything. It is just like a natural thing that we can't avoid, and you know, a thing we need to deal with and, you know, live with even. So in that sense, I would just kind of keep it around that point.
Okay.
And that's what the game is more trying to push. Yeah,
I think that's a good idea, and I think that that is what the game. It's death positivity, of course, and what was I going to say? In regards to that, I think that's pretty much it. I think, though, no, I was going to say is that you can figure this game more as a hypothetical, as opposed to something that actually represents morality, correct?
Yeah, it almost kind of
it's just a giant trolley problem.
I'm not, but by the way, I am not a fan of the trolley problem. I think it's a very poor, it is a poor little thing. Poor little idea.
No one is.
Yes, obviously.
Do you think your game? Are you gonna assert that your game is better than the trolley problem?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I would agree with you that their game is better than the trolley problem a million times, because you get to see who it is. You get to see what's happening as opposed to just random people. That's why it's better. Okay. Death in Texas, better game than the trolley problem. Let's go.
Yes.
Now 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
The red profiles, you mean, right?
Tell me about the red.
Kind of happened. They happened because that one.
Yes,
I think it was a random character. I think Oit, our programmer, wrote the one character who was the one who rode a bike, and they made the joke, let's meet at the water cooler, and you know, I'm tired of this job of writing profiles. I need to, you know, come sign my petition at the water cooler. Oit wrote it as a joke, and then Lena and Oit and I were looking at this joke and it's like, oh, this is a super interesting idea. If we had some other character who, you know, who wrote notes for you in profiles, because, you know, to give the impression that there are other workers on the office, and you know, the other workers kind of do other things, and it's like, and then at one point it's like, okay, let's do this like a plot line. What can we do with this? Let's start writing profiles who address you directly. You know, what can we do with this? Well, the secret ending is always super good. It gives the player something to do, something fun, something weird to explore, and that's kind of where it came from. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now finally, and of course that is Killing Fate, which was my first ending. That was my first ending, Usurper. So that's how I yeah. So now, finally, what is your inspirational
oh man,
to,
that's rough.
especially video game writers?
Most of the things
but
I can
just
say
writers
are
in
always very
general.
banal, you know. People, if you want to be a writer, you need to write a lot, write every day. Read a lot of books, read a lot of different books, not only, genre fiction, and not only like whatever you want to write, but you just need to write a lot. And game writing, I mean, just game writing is largely in such a poor place that like any anyone who has interesting ideas and can write like interesting prose, like, oh my god, we need so many more good game writers, and the industry obviously needs to be honest, work more on game writing as well. It's like so we need more writers, we need the game industry to pay more attention to game writing in general, and it's like game writing is very rough and tedious and stressful, but that's writing, and that's kind of sometimes life anyway. But it's fun. It has a little bit of like programming on the side, and it's more experimental with structures, and the way you can craft the world. You get to sometimes escape the linearity of a novel or whatever you're writing. So it's like, oh, this is interesting. You need to think in a different way. You need to think in like you need to think in a rhizome, in a growing like tree of branches that goes into insanity. but just everyone get into game writing and make all the games better. Make game writing better. That's fine. Yes.
I just want to make sure you were recording. Okay, this has been Philosophispiel. Bye-bye. Very much is to, even in games that have poor writing, we're going to find what they're actually trying to say. Like, Sonic is a big one. Sonic is a big one.
Yes.
Like, I think they're trying to, I think every game, even if it's written poorly, has something to say.
Such a compliment. Warms my heart.
Luckily, this game was written well, so I can just, and that's why I think that's it. And honestly, Märten, this was a wonderful experience. Probably way too long of interview, but I don't really care. I think since this game is so dense, and yes, half the time we were just talking about stuff that wasn't really related to the morality of death and taxes, but it doesn't matter. I think this was good, and I think thank you for being here. You are such a man.
No, I just want to say it was super weird as well. I'm not used to doing these things, but that kind of makes it more fun as well.
This is Philosophispiel. Goodbye.